shit on the shelf. Cause the way the real wealth is being real itself. But I haven't seen the glory of the coming of the left. I can't do it by myself, so I'm asking for help. It's time to switch it up, put the hip shit on the shelf. Cause the way the real wealth is being real itself. But I haven't seen the glory of the coming of the left. I can't do it by myself, so I'm asking for help. Money, money, money. All you got is money. Wrong with being wealthy. Like Kanye West said, having money is not everything. Not having it is. No, Deuteronomy 8:18, that God gives us the ability to create wealth. No, it's the love of money that's the wrong. You don't like money so much, why you get up and go to work? Everybody knows that about all of these things. I'm just trying to leave a legacy for money. It's not everything, but when you got it, you can do some cool stuff. And now, your host for Talking Money in the Morning, financial health mentor to the working class, Mr. H Cortez.
Good morning, Black world, and welcome to Talking Money in the Morning Live with your main man, H Cortez, the one and only financial health mentor to the Black community. Hangout has not used a selected camera. What is going on with my YouTube? Huh. Oh, well, I was just using this camera. What do you mean? Oh, well, looks like YouTube is playing around with me this morning. Normally, it is Facebook giving me all sorts of troubles. But now it looks like it's YouTube. Let me try this camera one more time. All right, YouTube, I apologize. I don't know what's going on, but we just gonna make it do what it do. Maybe you will appreciate the audio. I don't really know. You can always go over to Facebook, Financial Health Mentor page on Facebook, who we're streaming live from, or Periscope at Cortez Springer. So welcome to Talk Money in the Morning Live with your main man, H Cortez. It's a privilege and an honor to come to you live and direct from the Black Wealth Movement Studios here in St. Louis, Missouri, where we teach money, financial principles. We're actually bringing financial literacy to Black America. You want to know how to minimize taxes, eliminate debt, free up the cash you need to start investing, then you need to inbox me or text Black Wealth Movement to 314-874-6887. We want to help Black America build wealth from scratch. Point blank period. Show is also brought to you by Monetize My Life Academy. For those of you who are in business and you want to expose your brand, that's what Monetize My Life Academy is all about. For those of you who have passions, gifts, talents, and special know-how, you're trying to figure out how to turn that into profit, then Monetize My Life Academy can help you do just that. I have a 6-week mastermind where I can take you from concept to launch in 6 weeks if you put in the work. So go to monetizemylifeacademy.com to learn more about that. Do me a huge favor. You're checking this out on Periscope. Go ahead and tweet this out to your following and ask your followers to come check us out. If you're checking this out on YouTube, sorry, the camera has just flaked out on me. But go ahead and subscribe to the channel, or go ahead and copy the link and share it on your favorite social media timeline. Go ahead and leave a comment as well. If you got things that you'd like to hear me talk about, or my opinions on certain things, or ideas for shows, leave that in the comments. And my Facebookers, go ahead and share the stream today. If you haven't already hit the share button, go ahead and hit the share button. Share this out on your timeline. And then you guys know the hearts and the likes and the thumbs up means a lot in the Facebook world. It tells Facebook we have some valuable content, and that will help go a long way in terms of getting our message out to more and more people. Today, we are talking about as a man or woman thinketh, the actual and physical power of your thoughts. I want to start out by talking about a video that I saw yesterday, day before, a couple days ago. It was KRS-One. And you guys know that he's is elevated to metaphysical thinking and that kind of stuff. And he shared something on this particular video that really got me thinking, right? He held up a picture of a sign that says rock star and said, everybody read this sign and everybody say rock star out loud on a count of 3, right? And everybody said rock star out loud. And then he said, now what I want you to do is, we've already seen this, we already recorded this, so I'm gonna put the sign rock star down, but I want all of us to say rock star in our mind without moving our lips or opening our mouths, right? We want you to say that, but I don't want it to physically come out of your mouth. I just want you to say it in your head, right? On a count of 3, everybody, 1, 2, 3, rock star internally. And when he got to breaking down why he did that exercise, it really started to dawn on me some of the things that he was talking about. He said, so when you do that and you speak to yourself without moving your mouth, he asked a question, where does that voice come from? And if you can say something without the vibration of oration, then not only did you say it, you also heard it without these ears. So you said something and you must have said it out loud, even though you didn't move your mouth, because you actually heard what you said, even though you didn't hear it with these ears, because nothing came out. There was no vibrations to be picked up by your eardrum, but you heard it. He said the same is true when you look back and you see your past. When you look back and see your past, you don't see your past with these 2 eyes right here, do you? When you look ahead and see your future, you don't see your future with these 2 eyes right here. So what is the being that is hearing, speaking, and seeing without the actual physical sight, ears, vocal cords? What is that actual being then? And he spoke to the fact that that is the real being, that is the eternal you, right? That is the you that lives forever, even when this shell of eyes, ears, touch, all of that stuff is gone, right? So when you think about, there is a being that lives in you that has the ability to speak, hear, feel, smell, sense, all of that stuff without the physical shell, then that really did something for me. That changed my outlook. And it speaks to that being's connection to everything. Right? Michael Basin, from the Michael Basin show, always talking about everything is everything. That being, the real you, is that being that lives forever, that eternal being that is made that sound inside of your head, that is heard that sound inside of your head, that sees both past, present, and future without these eyes. So we're going to talk about, so that made me think about when they say, as a man thinketh, and one thing that he said that was really profound, he says, when that being speaks, not this being that you guys are hearing right now, but when that being speaks, that internal, immortal being speaks, the universe responds. It is that being that has command of the universe. And I said, wait, what? Wait, how? What? But you start to think, and that elevated my thinking. It's like, wait a minute. When I say something to myself, I do say it out loud because I actually hear it in my head. So there's a being. So he talked about the 3-dimensional plane that we exist on: up, down, left, right, front, back. but nobody really talks about in, out. He said that's the most critical that we have to understand. In, out. So the things that are going on internal, when that being speaks, the universe has no choice but to respond. So what I want to talk to you today about, as a man thinketh, that is that being, your eternal, immortal being. When you thinking, that being is speaking. And if that being speaks, the universe responds. So your thought life gets the universe to respond. So the question is, are you conscious and in control of your thought life? Are you consciously in control of your thought life? Because as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. All right, so we're going to talk about 4 or 5 different comparisons to the different polarities of how your thoughts are formulated. And then I'm going to give you Stephen Maxwell's antidote for how he deals with his thoughts and how he controls his thoughts. I think he says something very profound on this subject matter as well. So as a man thinketh in his heart, that means as he thinks, as he begins to believe that which he thinks, that which he ultimately becomes. And guess what, y'all? It don't make no never mind whether that thought is positive or negative. If he thinks it and he believes it, then he becomes it. If she thinks it and she believes it, then she becomes it. I want you guys to think about something. Tupac and Biggie, if you listen to their music, were extremely infatuated and obsessed with death. That's all they talked about. Talked about not living to a certain age. They talking about dying. They talk about seeing their death. They just talked about it all the time, every turn. I'm living my life to the fullest because tomorrow ain't promised. And lo and behold, those brothers died early deaths. So I want you to think about where thoughts actually come from. I want you to think about where your thoughts actually come from. See, 90% of our thoughts do not come from us. 90% of our thoughts come from the collective. That's why you have to be extremely careful about what you have on around you, the TVs, the radios, the people, and the idle chatter. All of those things influences or causes you to generate thoughts in your head. Positive, negative, indifferent, doesn't matter. 90% of your thoughts are not originated with you. They come from things that you have seen with your eyes, heard with your ears, touched, felt, people that you're around. So you have to be careful because those people are causing you to generate thoughts, right? And then the Bible speaks of those thoughts can later become imaginations. And then those imaginations become strongholds. So what is an imagination? So you take that thought, whether it originates with you or not, and then it becomes an imagination. Or in other words, you start seeing and painting pictures of that thought. Tupac had thoughts of death. Then he started seeing and painting vivid pictures of his own death. It became an imagination. It went from a simple thought to him actually seeing himself dying. And he started painting this picture, and every time he thought on the thought, the picture became more clear and more clear in his head. Then it became a stronghold, an obsession. And the man inside, that internal being that speaks when we can't hear it with these ears, but we hear it internally, that man began to speak to the universe and the universe gave him what he was asking for. In fact, I'll say it another way. The universe gave him what he was demanding. Huh? Wait a minute. You mean that we have command over the universe based on what and how we think? That is exactly what I mean. That is exactly what I mean. The universe will bend to your will based on the things that you focus on, based on those thoughts that come into your head as random in most cases, but then those random thoughts you take and transform them into imaginations. You start painting vivid pictures of random thoughts. Now they become an imagination. And now that you can see that imagination, it later becomes an obsession or a stronghold. And it don't matter whether those things are positive or negative. The universe doesn't care about positive and negative. The universe will bend to your will based on how you think. So if you think negative thoughts, that's why you are living in negative circumstances right now. If the thoughts that dominate your mindset are negative, then chances are you're living in a negative environment right now, an environment filled with chaos and negativity, because that's what you're demanding the universe produce for you. You are demanding the universe produce that for you. And if you are focused on that, you get what you focus on, right? If that's where your focus is, then that's what the universe is bending and yielding to you, right? So I'm going to talk about a couple different polarities, right? We think about poverty mindset versus prosperity mindset. Poverty mindset says there's a lack of everything. Prosperity mindset says there is no lack. And I want you to tell, right, falling asleep with the TV on, it will definitely, it's definitely harmful and detrimental, because you don't know what comes across that TV in the middle of the night, come through those airwaves. And I'll tell you something else about the television. I want you to think about something. We are physical, biological, chemical, and electrical beings, right? And how does the television communicate from one television to the actual network? Through sound waves and communication waves that we actually have the ability to pick up. So the question becomes, you have to be careful about having a TV on or having a TV in your house, just period. Because those waves that are all over the place, those microwaves, those infrared waves, yeah, we can pick that stuff up and internalize that without even realizing it. So poverty mindset versus a prosperity mindset. Poverty mindset focuses on, when your thought process is that of a poverty mindset, it focuses on the things that are not there, the things that one does not have, the things that are missing, lack. Prosperity mindset, on the other hand, focuses on the things that are there and the things that are exist. I want you to think about something. Is there or is there not enough of everything on this planet for everybody? If all houses are built from lumber, sand, clay, and straw, is there enough lumber, sand, clay, and straw on this planet for everyone to have a house? If all food either grows from the earth directly, or is some sort of animal that feeds on the earth directly, is there enough vegetation and animals on this planet for everybody to eat. And yet, we could still have a poverty mentality because, again, thoughts don't originate with us mostly. They originate from the collective. And when you live in a country that makes a tremendous amount of its wealth based on generating scarcity and fear, then you have to be careful about what you let in and what you let go from a thought to imagination to a stronghold. You have to be extremely careful. There is enough of everything on this planet for everybody to have 10, 20, 30 of them, 10, 20, 30 houses, right? There's enough. But an economy like the US economy and capitalism in general can only thrive when there is a finite amount of resources, and that's why that's why they have to continue to publish the fact that there's a finite amount of resources so that you believe that, and then you operate in fear and scarcity. That's why they have to create currency, because if currency comes from anything else on the planet, everything on the planet is limitless. And if the currency is not man-made and currencies are everything that is limitless, then everybody is wealthy. And a handful of the few cannot dictate and control 95% of the wealth, which in essence means they control 95% of the people or the population. Poverty mindset versus prosperity mindset. Positive mindset versus a negative mindset. Your outlook determines a lot about how you exist right now. Positive versus negative. Do you have a positive mindset or a negative mindset? I guarantee you, if you are filled with a life of positive people around you, if you're filled with a life of everything that seems to happen in your life is a positive experience, then you have a positive mindset. On the other hand, if you have a negative mindset, then I promise you, you are surrounded by negative people. Everything that happens in your life is negative. Every place you go, all you see is negativity, all you see is negative people. That's your mindset. That is not the actual experience that you're having. That is your perceived experience based on the way that your thought process is. Two people can walk in the same room. I often do it all the time. Walk in the same room with a person, and we see two totally different rooms. One person sees nothing but negativity, and one person sees nothing but positivity. I just see the good in everything. I see the potential in everything. I see what's right with everything. And another person's going to the exact same room, filled with the exact same people, and see something totally different. They see everything that's wrong. They see what's wrong with every person in the room. They just negative versus positive. So is your thought process one of a continuous state of positivity, right? What about a creative thinking process versus a limited thinking process? A creative thinking process, or if you find yourself always asking how versus saying, oh, well, then you have a creative thought process. And that's good to have. A creative thought process is always asking how. A limited thought process says, oh, well, and just accepts the limitations. I can't deal with limitations, man, because I know that if a God created me, he can't create anything without putting his footprint on it, his thumbprint on it. So if he created all things, then I might not be able to create all things, but if I'm his creation, then chances are I can create many, 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 many things. But it's all about your thought process and controlling your thought life. Creative mindset versus a limited mindset. A limited mindset says, I don't have enough. Oh, well, I guess I'm just gonna go without. A creative mindset says, how can I take the little that I do have and multiply it? You guys see the difference? A creative mindset says, how do I take the little that I do have and multiply it? A limited mindset says, oh, this all I got? I guess this is all it's gonna be. And they accept limitations. Are you accepting limitations in your life today? Has somebody put you in a box and said, this is your existence, and you accept that as your reality? Remember what the definition of power is, right? The definition of power is when someone else can define you and have you accept that definition as your reality and as if you came up with that definition yourself. In other words, somebody else puts you in the box and they condition your mindset to where now that you're in the box, you're saying to yourself, oh, look at this lovely box that I've created for myself. No, somebody put you in that box. You didn't create that box for yourself, but they have power because they put you in the box and defined your existence and then have you accepting that existence as if you created it. And now they can walk away forever and your butt will stay in that box because you believe that you created that world. No, man. No, man, that's limited thinking. Okay, I see that I am in a box and this box seems to have 4 boundaries. A creative thought process, how do I expand these boundaries? Through, over, around, or under these boundaries. A limited mindset says, man, within these boundaries, there is only X amount of square footage. So I guess that's all I got. Oh, well. And they accept that invitation, right? What about the future thinker, futuristic mindset versus the right now mentality, right? I want you guys to think about something. If we were in the middle, if I dropped you in the middle of winter, it's 12 feet of snow outside, and you are not of this world, and you have no recollection of these changing seasons and how this whole thing works. I dropped you in the middle of winter. It's 12 feet outside. You, my friend, would potentially think that this is just how it is all the time on this wretched planet. However, if you have been on this planet for more than 2 years, that means you've seen all 4 seasons twice, and you can recognize the cyclical pattern of winter, spring, summer, fall. Winter, spring, summer, fall. You've recognized that cyclical pattern. Tell me then why you can enter a winter in your life, a storm in your life, and not be able to see that this too shall pass. A future thinker says, this is seasonal. This winter right now where everything around me is dead, this is seasonal. I see spring right around the corner. And that creates hope, and hope alone can keep you alive. A right now thinker sees only the current situation. Only right now, this minute, moment to moment. It's cold as heck right now. And the right now thinker will freeze to death. The right now thinker will freeze to death. because they can't see this is only 90 days, man. I just got to find a way to survive one day after the other, and every day is going to get better. Every day I'm coming closer and closer to spring. And that hope will drive you to do what you have to do to survive another day. The right now person says, hey, here's where I am, and this situation is bleak as heck. I can't see a way out of it. I can't deal with it. And they give up. The future thinker never gives up because he sees what's coming. The right now thinker can't see beyond the current circumstances, and they quit. They give up. What about the defeatist thinker versus the winner? See, you are the sum total of your thoughts, positive or negative. Thoughts are energy waves, energy pulses that bend the universe according to how often you think on those thoughts, whether you let those thoughts become imaginations, and whether those imaginations become strongholds. You are the sum total of your thought process, your thought life. So in a minute, we're going to go over one of the ways that you can effectively change your thought life, right? But let's talk about the defeatist attitude or the thought process versus the winner. See, I win or I learn. I never lose. I win or I learn. I never lose. That's a thought process. A loser, on the other hand, will never win because he internalizes every loss. And with every loss, he begins to feel or think that he is inadequate. And whenever you continue to think that you're inadequate, you can't win. You can't win, right? As a youth basketball coach and trainer, I have to get my kids to believe that they're going to win long before we even step on the court. And then sometimes we step on the court and they look down at the opponent and they see all of these giants. And now I have to really infuse a winning attitude into them and let them know that that size that they got down there, don't let that defeat you. You're letting what they look like defeat you. And then we get on the court and all those big guys are clumsy as I don't know what. But before we stepped on the court, they were almost defeated simply because they looked at the other team's size. So a winning thought process versus a defeated thought process is a supreme confidence in my ability to figure out and find a way to win. And I don't care what I do on this planet, in this life, I'm going to figure out a way to win. And then you have the fear mindset or the fear thought process versus the courageous thought process. This world thrives on fear. Everything that is done in a capitalistic society, in order to get you to spend money, there is a fear element there. Everything. I want you to think about that. I want you to think about that. Fear dictates almost everything, right? If you watch the news, what does the newscasters do? They show negative imagery all the time so that you can stay in a constant state of fear, because as long as you are in a constant state of fear, there can be no trust And where there is no trust, there could be no unity. And where there is no unity, there is never an uprise against a government that may not be looking out for our best interests. The United States will keep you in a permanent state of fear because fear eliminates trust. And without trust, you cannot have unity. And unless the people unite, they will never put the government back in its place in subject to the people. So they call it fear mongering. And because that's the society and the system we've been raised in, we fear monger our own selves. We fear monger our own selves. We scare ourselves in and out of things all day long because that's the system that we grew up in. I want to tell you something, man, about who you are and the power that you have. You are unstoppable. There is no limit to your power except what you believe about your power. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to run that back. You are, the power that you possess has no limit. Except your ability to believe in said power. That is the only thing that causes any limitations to your power, your creativity, your ability to bend the universe, to extract from it any and everything that you want, whether positive or negative. The only thing that is stopping you from having what you say you want is your limiting belief in your own ability to go get it. And really, it's not even your ability to go get it. It's your ability to draw it to you. It's the only thing that's stopping you. So when you hear people say, get out of your own way, that's what it's meant. Get out of your own way means stop doubting your power. If you are born of the all-powerful, then that speaks to a certain amount of power that you have. The only thing that limits you is your thought life. So let's talk really quickly about how a simple process that you can use to kind of get you into a proper thought life pattern. First thing that you have to do is tune in. First thing you have to do is tune in. You have to start paying attention to your thought life. Tune in to your thoughts, right? Sometimes we have thoughts that just flowing in and out of our heads, and we're not really in tune with those thoughts. They just pop in and pop out, and we think that that's normal, or we don't have any control over that. Tune in. If your thought process is more negative than positive, tune into that. If certain people in your life causes you to have more negative thoughts than positive thoughts, tune into that. If certain programming on TV, radio, internet, what have you, creates and causes more negative than positive thoughts, tune into that. The first thing that you have to do to control your thought life is tune in. Tune into where they're coming from. Tune into how frequently the ones that pop into your head arise if you don't want them there. Tune in. Number one. Now, this comes from Stephen Maxwell. He is a foremost expert thinker on the positive of positive thinking, right? So then he says, every time, now I'm assuming that everybody here wants to think positive. So just every time a negative thought pops into your head, you first have to be tuned in to whether they're negative or positive. Because sometimes a thought pops in your head and you think it's neutral, and really it's negative. So that's why you have to be tuned in, and some thoughts will lead you down a path and down a rabbit hole to other negative thoughts. So you got to be tuned in. But he said, once you are tuned in and you start recognizing thought patterns, every time that initial negative thought pops into your head, you have to immediately replace it with 2 or 3 positive thoughts. Every time a negative thought pops into your head, you have to immediately replace it with 2 or 3 positive thoughts. And I want y'all to get something here. I don't know if you guys have ever painted, right? I don't know if you guys have ever painted, but it takes twice as much white paint to cover a black wall than it does black paint to cover a white wall. So you can't exchange your negative thoughts with a positive thought on a 1-to-1 ratio. You can't exchange a negative thought for a single positive thought on a 1-to-1 ratio. It takes twice as much positivity to drown out negativity, and it takes less negativity to drown out positivity. So when you have a single negative thought, then you need to replace it with 2, 3, 4, 5 positive thoughts in an instant. And that has to become a habit for you. Because when it does, you have to think about all the thoughts that come into your head a day. And every time a negative comes, you replace it with 3, 4, 5 positive thoughts. Then as you continue that habit, now throughout your day, you've had way more positive thoughts than you have negative thoughts. Way more positive thoughts than negative thoughts. Yeah, darkness quickly overtakes the light, but light gradually overcomes darkness. Exactly. Way more thoughts than positive thoughts. And then if you remember, the thoughts that you have, they will actually bend the universe. See, those, we think that when I speak verbally and I create those vibrations that you guys are hearing in your eardrums right now, that is not the real being speaking. The real being is the one that speaks when nobody hears but me and the universe. That's my thought life. And my thought life is responsible for manifesting everything externally. So KRS-One was talking about that being the 5th dimension. That being the 5th dimension is which happened internally or reflected externally. So if I have a negative existence, it's because I have a negative thought life. If I have a poverty, if I live in poverty, it's because I have a poverty mentality, a poverty thought life. If I have no peace and joy in my life that has manifested externally, it's because I have no peace, joy manifesting internally. So your thought life is critically important. So step 1, you got to start tuning into your thoughts. Tune into what causes your thoughts, what gets you down those, what creates thought patterns, right? I see negative people sometimes, and that gets me going down a negative thought pattern, and I quickly have to transform that. So you got to see what riles you up, what gets you going down that wrong path. You got to tune in. And then when you have that initial negative thought, Don't follow it up with the second, third, fourth, fifth negative thought. Right? Because when you start to support a single thought, then that single thought becomes an imagination. And remember, the imagination is when you paint the picture. Right? The imagination is when you paint the picture. Oh, this business isn't working for me. That's the initial thought. This business isn't working for me. That's the initial thought. But it's not an imagination yet. That's just the initial thought. But if I follow that thought up with another thought, you're right. I thought this was going to be easier. Now, this is happening in my head. Nobody is talking. That is the real being speaking. This business is not working for me. I have an opportunity right there to nip it in the bud and keep it from becoming an imagination. But if I'm not careful and I don't nip it in the bud, a follow-up thought comes. Man, you're absolutely right. I don't know what I was thinking when I got into this, that I'm not no business person. Now, as that chain of thoughts continues to develop, I start seeing a picture. The act of that single thought going into a visualized picture, again, not that I see with these eyes, but that I see with my internal eyes. That is the real being manifesting and creating the world that will actually manifest 30 days, 60 days, 90 days from the initial thought. I can't do this business. It's not working for me. You're right. You're not a business person. Who said that you could be a billionaire? Man, when you fail, everybody's going to laugh at you. Now I'm starting to internalize and see a crowd of people standing around, pointing and laughing at me. Now that single thought is becoming an imagination. And if I don't thwart it, if I don't nip it in the bud, that imagination will become a stronghold. It will become an obsession. And it's your obsessions that you focus on, and you get what you focus on, whether it's positive or negative. Whether it's positive or negative. So, A, tune into your thoughts. B, every negative thought replace with positive thoughts 3, 4, 5 times over immediately. Immediately. Then third, or C, you follow up the positive thoughts with affirmation. Now this is from Stephen Maxwell. Dude's a beast with positive thinking and mental attitude and things of that nature. A, you have to tune in. You've got to recognize thought patterns. You got to recognize the things, the people, the places that trigger those thought patterns, and you've got to change those things in your life. And then when the thought pattern seed starts to germinate, you got to kill it immediately and replace it with positive thoughts. And then you replace those positive thoughts. You follow up the positive thoughts with affirmations. Man, this business ain't gonna work for me. Oh man, this business is working awesome for me. I'm so excited that I got going in this business. This is gonna be the greatest endeavor that I've ever embarked on. I replace it with 3 positive thoughts immediately. And then I follow up the positive thoughts with an affirmation. With an affirmation. I'm the greatest businessman that ever lived on this planet. 10-year billionaire is nothing for me. I will get this done because I say so, and I get what I say, and I say what I mean, what I say, and everything easy. 4 or 5 positive thoughts. And then I follow those positive thoughts up with affirmation. Fit that into, and that becomes your habit. Then you're always, 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 always in the place of bending the universe to what you really want versus what you don't want. Easy to get into that we don't want. And then you follow that up with 2 or 3 other negative thoughts. Now it starts to become an imagination. And you begin to crystallize, or you begin to give life that imagination. So now that vision that you initially had, that picture you started to paint, now you start to, it goes from being internalized, now you're starting to crystallize it externally with the words that fall out of your mouth. You actually solidify, right? Tupac had the thought of dealing with death as an early man. Those thoughts became imaginations, things that he thought on and painted internal visions for. And he started, he crystallized those thinkings when he started speaking them. He painted the picture in his head first. He actually gave life to the picture when he started to speak it. I see death around the corner. You heard that song, you could picture what he was seeing in his head. Around the corner. I'm picturing him walking down the street corner, like in New York, you have your big buildings, and I'm seeing him. I'm picturing death waiting on Tupac to come by. So as he comes by, death is going to pounce on him. The thought was there. It became an imagination. He started painting the vision for it internally. And then he crystallized the vision when he started speaking and writing about it. In almost every rhyme, he said something about him dying. Stronghold and obsession. And then later, when he was starting to do interviews, he started to talk about, he recognized where he was and that he no longer wanted to die. Already bent the universe. So say what you mean. Say. Don't get in the habit of saying things that you do not want and things that you do want. It starts when you control your thought life. Those thoughts that come into your head that you do not want, replace them with the thoughts of things that you do want immediately, and then follow them up with, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Imaginations, strongholds. Control that pop into our heads. But have the ability to control whether or not that thought becomes an imagination. A picture, that thought, and we let one thought grow into a thought pattern. That pattern creates a visualization. Then the visualization, once we see it in our mind internally, then we start to speak it. It will manifest externally, and then you will see before your face that thing that you have been thinking on, the thing that you have been visualizing, the thing that you have been obsessing over, and then you will see it show up in your freaking life. If you want to know what kind of thought life you have right now, if you want to know the kind of thought life that you have right now, all you got to do is look around your current situation. Is your life filled with things you want, or is it filled with things you don't want? don't want, then that's a reflection of your thought pattern for the last 90 days, last year. Direct reflection of your thought life. To change your current situation. You want to change your current situation, you can't. However, your future situation, you start today. So you can't change the things that are manifesting in your life today because you actually built that life a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago with your thought process. I can't change my life today. I currently live in are what they are based on my thought process 6 months ago, 10 years ago. But if I don't want to continue situation, I have to change my thought life. I have to change my thought life. So when I see the manifestation of today's thoughts, it puts me in a better place tomorrow. Because if you think of your thoughts like a seed, that seed gets planted in your brain. You follow that thought up with other like thoughts, watering and the nurturing of that seed. Will ultimately grow up. You keep watering it and you keep nurturing it with more seeds that support it. Eventually grow to maturity, and you will reap a harvest from that seed. Or negative. However, it might take a little effort. Trees can be uprooted, right? You realize a tree that is 4 feet in diameter, right? You guys realize that a bulldozer can come in and uproot that thing like that. Power to uproot any stronghold in your life. You might need some help. Or exists for you to uproot, not cut it down, uproot so it never grows again. The difference between a positive person and a negative person is the perseverance, right? That is the difference. And how we see things, we react and respond to them. So once you create this habit of thinking that you see, you will see best of light. Your negative thought pattern. Put that into everything that you see in a positive light, and it triggers a positive thought pattern. Thing that you see, instead of it triggering a negative thought pattern, it triggers a positive thought pattern. Those seeds of positive thoughts that will grow to maturity and they bear fruit. Think about. So your thought process is important. Read positive information, get around positive people, practice. You have to practice thinking positive, y'all. You have to practice thinking positive. You don't just go from a negative mindset. You don't just go from a defeatist attitude. You don't just go from a limited mindset. You don't just go from a negative. You don't go from a positive. You have to practice these things. I promise, the person who has a poverty mindset right now, they can't even say the word prosperity. Poverty mindset can't even say the word wealth right now. That's how they feel when they say wealth. If you got a poverty mindset, you start talking about prosperity, and you got a positive mindset, those thoughts come into your head. Ooh, you got to practice. Do want, same way you got to practice what you don't want. About what you don't want, what you don't have. I shared this before and I'll share it here again. As a wealth strategist and someone who is deeply by where we are as a community of Black people here in America and abroad with our economic state, I just have the fact that yes, 98% of our money goes out of our community as soon as we get it. Optimist, as a prosperity thinker, as someone who thinks positive, I don't look at what's missing, I look at what exists. We still have 2%. Let's work with the 2% and grow that. Think with your thought process. Stop thinking about what you don't have. Think about what you do have. Count your blessings and grow from. It's all about your thought process, man. If you guys want to learn more about the Black Wealth Movement, you can text Black Wealth Movement to 314-874-6887. I'm looking for soldiers. This battle of economic empowerment for Black people around the world, starting with here in the US, starting with your personal finances yourself, but then ultimately teaching real practical financial strategies that working class people need in their lives today. I need about 30,000 soldiers, right? 1,000 in each major urban hub. Wealthy people. Time to tear down a block and rebuild it so our people have adequate housing. That 1,000 people can all put in $5,000 a piece. And you got $5 million for a project. Them because they're independently wealthy. If you want to become that, we have the game plan that will get you out of debt, that will fix your credit, that will have you minimize your taxes. You will have your own business that will grow passive income over time, and we will teach you how to invest and acquire income producing assets. If that's you, Wealth Movement to 314-874-6887. That is not an automation, y'all. That is my cell phone number. I will call you. About this life, don't text me thinking you're gonna get some automated response and somebody gonna send you a link or something. No, my phone number. I'm going to call you. A little bit of an interview process to see if you're a good fit for us, and I want to know that we're a good fit for you. Text me at that number or inbox me and let's have a conversation. You can't build wealth in email, and no, we have to start to develop a relationship, and we're going to build wealth. The number is 314-46887. 874-6887. That is my cell phone number. If you call it right now, it's going to ring and interrupt the stream. That's my phone number, man. I'm serious about finding conscious people, difference in our community, but I believe there is no planet for Black people that is putting any type of game plan together that's going to work for us if it doesn't include personal financial success for the individuals. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on that we need to do collectively. That stuff don't get off the ground because individually we're hurting financially. Starts with personal financial success, and then collectively, if you get enough people in the room who care about the Black community and they all got money, I'm gonna throw peace at Houston. Really wealthy, right? I see some of these celebrities, man, with all this money, and they're pledging these little 10,000, these little 25,000 to Houston. I'm like, come on, man, are you kidding me? You got 25,000 for the cause, really? I don't like to dwell on the negative. I don't like to dwell on the negative. I'm going to become a billionaire and show them what real philanthropy looks like. Create business entities and funds that will grow, and those funds will just be there at situations like this. I can create a business right now, a multi-million dollar business, and all of the profits, and it will grow account. And anytime something like this happens, we can pull 50 million out of that fund. What 45 or 48 or 52, whatever president is in, if you don't want to go deal with our people, don't worry about it. We got this. Yeah, I mean that's how it's got to be, man. We got to do that kind of stuff, man. It's just sitting back waiting on somebody else to do for you what you can do for yourself if you want to. It's positioned for a long time, and we see how that's working out. So that's why I'm developing the programs that we're developing, because we're just going to do it. Right? Somebody else is over their money. I believe that. We just going to do it. Right? So I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Again, tomorrow we'll be right back here, same back channel, same back time, doing the same thing, just trying to help our people understand the power of financial literacy, get it working in their lives so we can come together and start making the change and becoming the change that we want to see. I'm your man, H Cortez, the one and only financial health mentor to the Black community. Again, YouTube, I apologize. I don't know why my camera kicked off. I was just watching my camera before I hit record. And till I talk to you guys tomorrow, I want you to get your money up, because you absolutely, y'all.